What did you think about the Prime Minister, and specifically, let's spend just 2 minutes talking about this football thing. I could understand how earlier in the week, as part of a keep calm and carry on way, which doesn't mean whistle past the graveyard, it means keep our spirits up and don't be affected. Well, he's got 7 days a week, things are only getting busier, which means he's not going to go. But there is a part of Australia that is going to be more interested in the conversation about whether the Prime Minister does or doesn't go to the football, rather than why the football is being pulled back from next week.
Look, I personally think he should have gone to the football. I'm saddened that he didn't, and I have to say I really do like Scott Morrison's leadership throughout this whole thing. I think he's been really terrific. I think he's struck exactly the right balance between doing the hard yards, yes, cancelling the events, putting in travel restrictions, etc., and remaining sort of calm and jovial and still relatable throughout the whole thing. Because the last thing that we want is a public panic, and we've already seen a bit of that with the panic buying of toilet paper. I mean, I thought my local Woolworths in Buranda had escaped it, but not so. I went down there the other day and the entire aisle was cleaned out of toilet paper, tissues. There were no cleaning products. You could hardly get anything. I mean, that's symptomatic of a panic. Scott Morrison would know that, and the last thing he would want would be for that to get any worse. But the people who have been criticising Scott Morrison for saying he was going to go to the football and calling him irresponsible and, bad public advice, etc., are the same people who only a few weeks ago were calling him racist for jumping in and instigating travel bans and travel restrictions on China and South Korea, and for quarantining people on Christmas Island. I mean, Scott Morrison was way ahead of the curve there when it came to sort of social isolation and quarantining and things like that, and he copped a huge amount of attacks on his character and his morality from doing that, from these same people who are now effectively saying he's doing the opposite wrong thing by encouraging people to gather. It's absolutely ridiculous. And I think I'd like to give it the appropriate name of Morrison Derangement Syndrome. It doesn't matter what Scott Morrison does, these people are going to have a go at him because they still can't stand the fact that he's the Prime Minister and not Bill Shorten. I agree, but the point is that so many of the people who have it are the people whose job it is to tell us what's going on. And that's what's dangerous. That's what's scary, is that these people are the ones in the middle of a pandemic, not the straight. There is a lot of very straight good news reporting, right? And credit to Channel 9 in particular for setting what I hope becomes the industry standard, which is when you talk about the number of new cases, you have to say how many people got over it. You have to say how many people have got it mild. You have to start to break that number down as opposed to being one. That should be the industry standard. I'm trying to have that conversation internally in this building, but, we'll own it very publicly. I think that's where we need to go, because that number's only going to get bigger. But I mean, it's this thing, Gary, where today also the decision that they didn't say don't go. They didn't say we hereby ban overseas travel. They said please don't do it. If you can avoid it, do avoid it. But again, the people that are sort of sitting there as the roving jury box, who are already 11 votes down before you even start opening your mouth every day. They're always going to hate what's going on here, but we're going to make sure we don't get distracted and talk too much about them, as opposed to talk to the people that are watching us at home right now who are going, have we gone too far? Have we gone far enough? That's where Australia should always be.
Look, Paul, as you know, if ScoMo walked on water, people would criticise why he didn't swim. I mean, the reality is this, Paul. You can trust most people to do the right thing. And I keep saying it comes back to this sense of trust. The left don't trust people, and so we shouldn't trust them. So the second you start hearing unprecedented, over-the-top kind of media reports, as you seem to get from a lot of people who have just gone through the crisis of puberty and are still trying to get over it every night as they report you the news, these unprecedented, unheralded, never seen before sort of scenes, this sort of rubbish. Most people are just ignoring it, and the problem you've got, and this is probably a very serious message, is to get the right message out there, is to get the sober message out there, is to get the statistical correctness out there, because there might well be 100,000 people around the world that have got this or whatever, and 4,000 might have died, but as I said, 6 million people die of stroke. We're not banning salt. Okay, salt in your diet causes strokes, amongst a few other things. So we just need to understand that there is a problem here. There is a way to prevent it. Personal responsibility can count, But right now they want, the socialists, the left want, and you know, Bronwyn's not here, so I will say socialists, the left want you all to be in a panic, to be sitting there withered as victims in waiting. And I don't think we are as bad as that. I think as a country we're better than that. Whether the football's on or off, I think most people should self-select whether they go or don't. I've self-selected to not go on a plane. I've deferred my flight to later in the year. It's cost me some money, but I felt it was better than running the risk, as Peter Dutton has done, of being on a plane and catching a bug when you're travelling. I mean, people can be trusted, Paul. And I think that's what Scott Morrison has outlined, that people can be trusted. I mean, Paul, the left here in Queensland are trying to get up the idea that in 2 weeks tomorrow, the local government elections are on. Maybe they should be cancelled. Maybe they should be postponed. Maybe there's a need for the Queensland government to allow postal votes to be registered longer than just 7 o'clock Monday night for Queenslanders. But the left want to do everything they can to have people in fear and to manipulate them. And I don't think we should lose that reality in this discussion.
No, I'm with you completely.